Hunden changed his story about 4 or 5 times. He wants the truth out, but if he was so interested in the truth, why did he not say what he believes is the truth directly?
There's a question of competitive integrity. A coach bug like this, which is so powerful, we don't know who set this bug up purposefully and when this bug fell into someone's lap and they just didn't say anything about it.
He had played the game professionally for 10, 11 years. Why would he all of a sudden use a cheat or a bug? Why would we ever think that he would want to use it?
One of the many changes to a coach's role came as a result of a controversial bug exploit that implicated over 100 coaches and put into the question the results from every tier of competitive play over a 3-year period. So how did one bug cause so much damage to the competitive integrity of the Csgo scene? And what kind of lasting impact does the bug have on the scene to this day? So what does a Csgo coach do exactly? Obviously, they help with strategy and managing the players on a team. But what about during matches? Do they just sit behind the team and twiddle their thumbs? Well, early on, coaches were almost like a 6th player who could freely communicate with the team at any time and serve as an in-game leader. Being that they didn't have to worry about actually playing the game, their role was to help the team adjust their tactics in real time and allow players to focus on clicking heads. However, Valve decided that shot calling is something that should be left up to the players themselves and limited the coach's line of communication to warm-up, timeouts, and halftime. They justified this decision, saying, quote, "Activities such as keeping track of the economy, calling plays, and general situational awareness are important components of CS gameplay. If a person is performing these actions, we consider them a player. Since the goal of our events is to identify the best 5-player CS teams that exhibit the best combination of all CS skills, the current participation of coaches in the game is not compatible with that goal." So while the rule change was controversial at the time, it was clear that Valve wasn't backing down. So teams adapted and coaches were forced to take more of a back seat. However, while policing coach involvement is pretty straightforward on LAN, online play is a different story. This unregulated environment would set the stage for one of the biggest scandals in CSGO history, the Spectator Bug scandal. The first notable post regarding the Spectator Bug went up on August 26, 2020, when the coach of Wisla Krakow, Lord, posted a twitlonger detailing a bug in spectator mode that allowed him to view parts of the map that he shouldn't be able to see. In competitive matches, spectating is limited to the first-person perspectives of the players in the game. But with the static spectator bug that Lord was describing, the spectator would be dropped into a random part of the map and have 360 vision from that one spot. So if you're playing on Dust 2 and encounter this bug, you might, for example, get dropped onto Goose and be able to see everything that happens around that part of the map for the entirety of the match. I don't think I need to explain why this could be a problem. But the static bug was only one of 3 different bugs that allowed spectators to see things they shouldn't, and the other 2 are way more powerful. The third-person bug is just what you'd expect, seeing a player's perspective from the third rather than the first person. By exploiting this bug, you can see over boxes, peek around corners, and generally have an unfair advantage. But the free roam bug literally let you fly anywhere on the map at any time. Coaches who abused this bug were like God themselves and could tell their team exactly what was going on at all times during a match. These spectator bugs were literally game-breaking and, as we'll see later on, were simply too good not to abuse. When the bug started gaining attention, the first question was this: who else knew about it? According to CSGO referee Michal Slavinsky, it was clear that the bug had been around for some time. But how many coaches knew about it and how often it was abused wasn't entirely clear. But as they discover over the coming months, the bug was well known. Very well known. After a brief investigation on August 31st, 2021, ESL announced a competitive ban for 3 coaches effective immediately. The coaches included Dead, the coach of MIBR, Hunden, the coach of Heroic, and Zoner, the coach of Hard Legion. Zoner, who abused the bug on 6 maps across 3 matches during the ESL 1 Rio Major, basically cheated during every important win, and he was issued a 2-year competitive ban. Slavinsky, with the help of Steve Dudenhofer, a software development specialist at ESEA, began investigating the bug at the start of August. Working 12 hours a day, every day, the two reviewed 1,500 demos from Tier 1 events alone, examining the movement and POV of spectators. With this kind of information readily available, it turned out that catching cheaters was surprisingly easy. And, apparently, there were a lot of cheaters. After reviewing the initial 1,500 demos, it became apparent that the bug exploit was a much bigger issue than they had first expected. 2 weeks later, on September 4th, the Esports Integrity Commission, or ESIC, stepped in and officially contracted the two to review 25,000 demos dating all the way back to 2016. With the backing of the ESIC and HLTV, which provided the duo access to 5 terabytes worth of demo footage, the pair continued their hunt. Given how obvious it was to tell if the bug was being abused or not, it was impossible for coaches to deny allegations of cheating. So they started confessing their guilt. One such example is Twista, the coach for ENCE, who admitted to exploiting the bug all the way back in 2017 when he was a coach for iGame.com. As a result, he was suspended from ENCE immediately. Eventually, on September 28, 2021, the ESIC released the preliminary findings of the investigation, revealing that the 25,000 demos had been expanded to include 99,650 demos, and that Slavinsky and Dudenhofer were beginning to scrub games from the ESA database as well. Furthermore, after reviewing only 20% of the available replays, the ESIC had adequate evidence to punish a total of 37 coaches, including former Na'Vi coach Starix and OG coach Ruga. The scandal, it turned out, was no longer confined to Tier 2 orgs and small online events. This was a scandal that reached all the way to the top teams in the world. Following this wave of 37 bans, news around the scandal began to die down, although it remained a hot topic for discussion within the community as more coaches admitted to abusing the bug. The next report from the ESIC wouldn't come out until May 5th, 2022, almost a full year later. Just a few days before the PGL Antwerp Major, the ESIC released its final report after reviewing all 99,650 demos. The result was the punishment of 134 coaches across all levels of competition. But things weren't as cut as dry as you might expect. While on the surface, the ESIC was praised for cleaning up the scene and upholding the competitive integrity of Csgo, their methodology was quickly put under a microscope. The main criticism was that the punishments handed out came with little or no consultation with the coaches themselves. An example of this is the coach for FaZe Clan, Robin. Robin, who received a ban of 5.5 months, claimed to have been unfairly targeted for unintentionally encountering the bug years prior. In a twit longer, Robin explained that back in 2017, he encountered the bug during a competitive match. Because it is a bug, an issue with the game itself, it can happen to anyone at any time. So when Robin realized what was happening, he immediately muted his mic and stopped communicating with his team for the rest of the map. From his perspective, the information he got from the bug gave him an unfair advantage, and to use it to win would have been poor form. To hammer home his point, his team would go on to lose the map 1-16. And all evidence points to Robin thinking the bug a one-off and doing the right thing. The next day, however, Robin encountered the bug again and realized that it could be utterly game-breaking. So, he immediately reported it to the relevant parties and assumed that Valve would work to fix it as soon as possible. Given his transparency and commitment to competitive integrity, the community rallied behind him, calling for the ban to be repealed. However, the ESIC stuck to their guns and Robin remained banned, missing out on the PGL Antwerp Major and being sidelined as his team, FaZe Clan, went on to lift the trophy. Shortly after the controversy surrounding Robin, a number of other bans that were overturned raised further questions about the ESIC's rulings. The most notable were Peacemaker and Hunden, two of the most blatant abusers of the bug, who had their bans repealed after hiring lawyers to challenge the initial ruling. The overturning of Hunden's ban, who used the free roam spectator bug with reckless abandon, was especially questionable. I mean, he was flying around the map, obviously cheating, and yet the ESIC decided to pardon him?
I didn't remember any suspicious thing or anything.
When the bug was used, Hunden had only been in the team for 3 weeks. For us, there was no alarm bells ringing or anything because the communication that was given throughout the game was completely normal. At the very start of the COVID pandemic, so everyone was playing from home, which also meant that we obviously couldn't see Hunden's screen.
On top of cheating to win countless maps, Hunden also attempted to implicate his former players, including Nico, a player with ADHD and Asperger's syndrome, by manipulating them into writing incriminating text messages that Hunden could use as proof of his own innocence.
For me, it was just clear that Hunden was just trying to put some of the guilt and blame that he felt from doing this stupid thing onto some of the players, Nico and René.
Hunden has fucked my whole reputation, which has worked for my whole life.
Nico was telling me and Martin that the bug had been used. Hunden used the bug.
Are you serious, Nico? And Hunden was on TeamSpeak as well.
It actually makes me a bit sick to my stomach to hear that Nico is being manipulated in such a way by someone that he, at least at the time before this call, still trusted. The ways that Hunden tried to pull words out of his mouth is something that I find so disrespectful.
In the report on the case, the ESIC commissioner said, quote, "I have found myself increasingly sympathetic to Mr. Christensen's position in this matter in light of his conditions and personality. In particular, I believe that the much publicized text and phone conversations in July 2021 with Mr. Peterson demonstrates that Mr. Christensen was ruthlessly manipulated and set up by Mr. Peterson in an attempt to force Mr. Christensen to verbally commit to a position which would incriminate both himself and his former teammates. The transcript, when read in isolation, are damning and were, to a high degree, the basis on which I initially decided that the information provided by Mr. Peterson to the ESIC justified an investigation." The news that Hunden's ban had been lifted sent shockwaves through the community, with many questioning how effective the ESIC was if they couldn't even uphold such a clear case of cheating. Whether it's a result of shoddy investigation or the ESIC simply not having the resources to fight a legal battle, the unbanning of coaches like Hunden and Peacemaker caused major damage to the credibility of the commission, and many called for the commission to be disbanded altogether. But the ESIC isn't the only party who failed the community. Valve and their lackadaisical response to the Spectator bug is what allowed this scandal to happen in the first place. For starters, Valve claimed to have fixed the bug on September 1st, 2020, but it was discovered that the bug was still exploitable as recently as May 15th, 2021. This calls into question the accuracy of Valve's patch notes and whether they addressed the problem in the first place or just said they did. With community members like Robin informing Valve about the bug as early as 2017, the fact that it took them more than 4 years to actually fix it is negligence, plain and simple. Valve truly came under fire on January 27th, 2021, when they directly addressed the coaching scandal. In a blog post, Valve announced that they would be banning coaches from majors based on the punishments handed out by the ESIC, as well as announcing a major change to the rules around coaching, saying, quote, "To avoid the diminished integrity of coaching from casting a shadow on the integrity of Valve-sponsored events, we'll be changing the restrictions on support staff in the following way. During online matches, only players are allowed in the room and on the server. Neither coaches nor any other team staff will be allowed in the room or on the server, or to otherwise communicate with the team during an online match. Coaches and players alike feel that the rule change unfairly punishes innocent coaches, especially since Valve was aware of the bug while it was being exploited. The sudden rule change upset many in the professional scene. Coach and former pro, Peta, pointed out that when compared to other top esports developers like Riot Games, Valve has repeatedly failed to openly communicate with players and teams. The result is a lingering feeling of bad blood between the community and the developers, and punishing coaches is only exacerbating that tension. Ultimately, despite the flurry of criticism levied against Valve and the ESIC, they've been staunch in their convictions. While the Spectator Bug scandal didn't reach the same media attention as the iBuyPower match-fixing scandal, it goes without saying that 3 years of potential cheating has cast an enormous shadow over the community. To this day, while the original investigation has long since concluded, the scandal is still a controversial topic. Since the banning of more than 100 coaches, the scene has begun to recover, but the Spectator Bug will remain one of the biggest scandals in CSGO history. What are your thoughts on the CSGO coaching scandal? Do you think coaches deserve to be banned? Do you think the punishments were too harsh or not harsh enough? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to Brendan, Cloud, QB, Foxy, Mauve, Pachana, Shampoo, Spartacus, and Yashichi for being Platinum supporters, and an extra special shout out to Marco for being our Diamond supporter. Thank you all, and happy holidays. If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord. Or if you want to support our channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah. Thanks for watching.